Do you ever wonder why it seems like some people have such an easy time being free spirited and living in a way that genuinely prioritizes their own happiness despite what other people think? Have you ever felt like you put in so much effort to make the people around you happy and make them feel comfortable, but in the process, it feels like you're losing yourself because there is always somebody else that you're prioritizing apart from you? What if I told you that you can become the person that confidently and intuitively follows their own path, even when other people don't support you? Because you can. You can become the person that feels so safe and secure in your own individuality to the point where other people's unsolicited opinions don't shake your sense of self. Because as we know, people are always ready to share their unsolicited opinions. All you have to do is overcome the 4 mental blockages that we're going to be talking about in this video. Plus, I'm going to share with you exactly how I overcame the same blockages so you can do it for yourself. Because my journey is proof that you also have the ability to do it. It's time for you to become who you authentically are and not who your fear of rejection tells you you should be. Welcome to Take Your Power Back. My name is Kesia. Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to address these 4 mental blockages in a way that flows from internal liberation to self-expression to how you can manage external challenges and finally how you can create deep and authentic connections. The first thing we're going to look at is how you can actually stop caring what people think about you. This is the first one we're looking at because in many cases, this is the most foundational internal barrier that most of us need to overcome before we can focus on other things. I know it was definitely a big one for me. And something that helped me to move past it, or at least to start moving past it, is coming to the realization that I can't build real, genuine self confidence if I'm always worried about other people judging me. Because truly, what time do we have to think about ourselves if we're constantly worried about what other people are thinking? And you might be wondering, is it possible for us to genuinely not care about external validation? The answer is yes and no. Let me explain. No, because if you hear someone is talking about you, spreading rumors, saying things that are not very kind, at the end of the day, we're still human. So to some extent, your feelings will still be hurt because nobody likes it when people are being unkind to them. I know I definitely don't like it, but on the other side of the spectrum, yes, it's possible to not care about external validation from the perspective of understanding that people's opinions of you are always going to be fueled by their personal biases. Nobody knows who you are at your core. Nobody knows exactly how your life played out. Nobody has been in your shoes exactly the way that you have. They don't know what your experiences were like. So nobody actually has the ability to form an accurate opinion of you. It will always be fueled by their own personal biases. And when you get to understand this, when you finally internalize that realization, it can free you from the shackles of being so concerned about what people think, because you understand that at the end of the day, they don't really have what is necessary for them to form an accurate opinion of you. Plus, another thing, I came to realize that many people don't actually like themselves. So why would I be bothered if they don't like me? You know, why am I bothered by the opinion of someone who already has such a terrible opinion of themselves? That is exactly how you start to deal with negative opinions and criticism without letting it crush you. Plus, I always tell myself, it doesn't really matter what someone is thinking about me in their head, because at the end of the day, that thought can't hurt me unless I choose to let it hurt me. If somebody comes here and tells me, Kisia, you know what? I think you're a fool. I think you're this. I think you're that. I can just choose to be like, okay, because what do you want me to do? Do you want me to explode into a million pieces, or do you want me to melt into a puddle? There's nothing that their thoughts can actually do to you unless you choose to internalize them. Unless maybe you're a bit unsure what you think of yourself. So when somebody comes and tells you you're a fool, you're like, oh my goodness, what if they're right? What if I'm actually a fool, you know? So the key thing to remember is that their thoughts can't hurt you unless you allow them to hurt you. And yes, it might sting for a little bit when you first hear what is going on or whatever, but there are multiple steps you can take to strengthen your self-trust It involves a lot of self-validation, and eventually it leads to a stronger sense of self-worth. And if you'd like more information on this, definitely check out my video where we talked about the last step of the alignment code, which was how to embody your authentic self. You can also check out my video on boundaries because we covered how boundaries can help you to increase your confidence, your self-esteem, and your self-respect. Once the fear of judgment has started to decrease in your life, the next natural step is to discover who your authentic self is and how you can begin to express that version of yourself. So, what does it mean to actually live authentically? Living authentically is when your actions actually align with your true values and not the values that you are programmed to hold on to by society or by family systems, but the values that are actually genuinely resonating with who you are on the inside. The reason many of us feel like we are wearing a mask in different situations is because we're afraid to express what we truly think or what we truly feel, maybe because we think it will contradict with someone else's opinions, or because we're afraid to be judged, or because we're afraid of other people disapproving of what we think. And the truth is, these things will actually happen. You will get to a point in your life where you realize that embodying your authenticity is pushing some people away. And the way in which I taught myself to take comfort in this is that I started to understand that embodying my authenticity is embodying my truth. Anyone who feels like they need to keep their distance from me because of the truth that I am proudly advocating for is someone who is simply not compatible with my authentic self. And why would I want to surround myself with someone or people who make me feel like I need to be a certain version for them to accept me or for them to acknowledge me? That is the definition of self-abandonment, something that I completely do not advocate for in any way, shape, or form. If your authenticity pushes someone away, take comfort in the fact that it possibly means that you're just not compatible with them. Sometimes it's not always about who is a bad person and who is a good person. Sometimes it's just a matter of compatibility. And sometimes the harder you try to hold on, the more damage it causes to the both of you. And if you're wondering how you can begin to align your actions with your true values, the first step is to first discover what your true values actually are. Have a look at this video if you would like a step-by-step guide that helps you to do that. Because if no one has told you this before, I'm going to be the first one to tell you. It is not selfish for you to prioritize your authentic desires. Yes, some people might disapprove, some people might not be happy about it, but either way, whether you're prioritizing your authenticity or whether you're prioritizing the expectations that have been projected onto you by other people, feathers are still going to be ruffled. Either way, there is someone who is still not going to be happy about how you're living. So you may as well just prioritize your authenticity to begin with. Now let's talk about how you can deal with toxic family members or friends. Because once you have a strong sense of self and a reduced fear of judgment, you're now better equipped to start handling interpersonal dynamics. I know many of us struggle with how we can set boundaries with parents, family members, or friends who don't respect them. And I want you to remember that emotional or physical distance is always an option, especially when you know you've already communicated your limits, when you know you've already put in the effort to meet someone halfway and they're not doing the same on their side. Keep your distance, because what is the point of begging someone to treat you with human decency? There is no point. Why would you beg when you can just distance yourself? Remember to check out my video on how to set effective boundaries if you would like more information on that, because as I said earlier, we even talked about how to set boundaries in relationships that naturally have an imbalanced power dynamic. Now, when it comes to toxic family members and friends, it's important to recognize when a relationship is becoming destructive. When a relationship has a destructive dynamic, that's when you should now start becoming aware and see what steps to take next, whether it's addressing the dynamic and meeting each other halfway or keeping your distance if your olive branch is being met with indifference. In my opinion, I feel like there is objective destructiveness and there is subjective destructiveness. And learning how to tell the difference is important because it influences how you choose to move forward. Objective destructiveness are the situations where we know are objectively destructive. Like situations that involve any kind of abuse, those ones we know they are just destructive. You can't really negotiate, or what do you call it? What's the word?
3 hours later.
Justify. Yes, you can't really justify them. When it comes to subjective destructiveness, I feel like this is one of those situations where you as an individual, you have identified what your negotiable and non-negotiable boundaries are, and you know why these are your non-negotiable boundaries. But maybe you meet someone who somehow either can't or is choosing not to respect your non-negotiable boundaries. To me, that can be a form of subjective destructiveness, because maybe your non-negotiable boundary is not a non-negotiable boundary for them, but it doesn't change the fact that it is still your non-negotiable boundary. That doesn't mean that now you should change your boundary, because at the end of the day, your boundaries are there to protect you. So if someone doesn't understand it, or if they are failing to respect it, that doesn't mean you should change the boundary for them. Take it as a sign of incompatibility. Staying in such situations simply because the other person is trying to downplay your boundary, and now you are trying to convince them that your boundary is actually important. To me, that's a situation that's destructive in a subjective manner, because it's like, you don't get it and I'm trying to make you get it, but what's the point? If we've tried so hard and it's not working, we are simply not compatible. I know some of you might be wondering if it's okay to cut off family members who are draining you. And I'm very aware that this can be quite the sensitive topic. So take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. At the end of the day, you need to listen to your own intuition, listen to your own spirit. What is your intuition telling you? For me, what I think is, if a family member is draining you and you've tried to address the situation, you've tried to meet them halfway, they're not reciprocating the energy of meeting you halfway, it's very okay to cut them off, because you're not stressing me on my time. On my time, please. And sometimes it can sound easier said than done, even when it comes to cutting off friends. Because sometimes you've pictured a friend staying in your life, forever. And you're like, wow, we're really, really locked in. And then something happens and you're like, damn, now I have to let go of you and leave you in the past. So I know it can be quite difficult. It can be easier said than done. But you need to constantly remind yourself that you're not cutting someone off for the sake of being difficult. You're doing it to protect your well-being. If someone is putting you in a position where you have to sacrifice your well-being, where you have to sacrifice your peace of mind, that's not someone who you should wait to prioritize your well-being. They're not going to do it. You either do it for yourself or you continue staying in the emotionally draining cycle. So you're not cutting them off to be difficult, you're just protecting yourself. And if you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you're being pressured to conform, step away for some time and act. If you can't step away, you can still do this in your head. Step away for some time, acknowledge the situation, say to yourself that, you know what, I feel like I feel the pressure to wear a certain mask to be accepted, or I'm feeling the pressure to conform to what these people approve of. Because sometimes naming the problem solves 50% of it. Sometimes something feels so big because we've not said it out loud. And you don't even have to say it to someone, you can just say it to yourself. So acknowledge the fact that you feel pressured to conform, and remind yourself that the reason you're choosing to embody your authenticity is because you have a long-term plan of building a life that you're genuinely happy with, not a life that is being dictated by the opinions of other people. Remind yourself that you're protecting your truth, you're advocating for it. And if you feel like the situation is not a conducive environment for you to be in, you can always just permanently remove yourself from the situation. Like, for example, if it's a friend group that you feel like you don't really connect with them, you can remove yourself. If it's a romantic relationship where it's like, oh my goodness, at first I thought we were compatible, and now I feel like we're struggling too much, we're not meeting each other halfway, we're not making any progress, in fact, we're just getting worse, you can remove yourself. Whatever social situation is making you feel like you need to conform, remind yourself that fighting for your truth is always going to be more worth it than fulfilling other people's expectations. Now let's talk about how we can overcome our fear of vulnerability in relationships. Because the truth is, for us to attract authentic and genuine connections, we have to be willing to be vulnerable. We have to be willing to be seen in our vulnerability, which can be a scary thing, because every now and then you will come across someone who might try to weaponize your vulnerability against you. I know it can be a scary thing. I've experienced it. It doesn't feel good. In fact, it can be very heartbreaking, and it can even make you fear getting into other connections with other people, because it's like, oh my goodness, what if it happens again? I understand, which is actually why many of us might sometimes start pushing people away when we feel like a relationship is getting serious. I feel like in the past, I used to do this more often. Right now, I'm a bit more conscious of it because I've been working on myself for quite some time, but I definitely used to push people away when relationships become serious in the past, even with friendships, not just romantic relationships. You might be wondering how you can begin to heal your ability to trust someone in a relationship if you've been hurt in past relationships. And for this one, I'm just going to share with you what I did for myself. One of the steps I took was doing some introspection, some self analysis with the goal of identifying what my weaknesses are in relationships. And the reason I did this is because I wanted to be able to identify when I'm in a relationship with someone who is making a habit of using my weaknesses against me, because that is exactly what makes it impossible for us to rebuild trust when it comes to relationships, when you feel like there is no safety for you to be vulnerable. So I learned what my weaknesses are so I can know when someone is trying to weaponize them against me. For example, I know that one of my top love languages is words of affirmation or words of reassurance. I like hearing good things. What can I say, you know? But I also know that it's very easy for people to say sweet nothings and for their actions not to match what their words are saying. But it also doesn't change the fact that words of affirmation is still one of my top love languages. So what I do now is I still appreciate when people are telling me those sweet things because they really do sound good. I like them. But I watch their actions. I'm very conscious about watching their actions. In fact, that's one of the things that I purposely make myself be intentional about because I know it's one of my blind spots. It's easy for me to hear the sweet nothings and to forget to watch what their actions are actually telling me. So that's an example of how understanding what my weaknesses are helped me to move a step closer to building trust in relationships again. Of course, it goes without saying that this is not something that happens overnight. It's something that you'll have to work on, and you have to be patient with yourself and the other person. Another important thing that I feel like really helped me with building trust is understanding that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is take things slow. And I say this as someone who struggles with it every now and then. Sometimes you meet someone and you're so excited and you're like, oh my goodness, I want to be with them. I want to be inside their skin. I want to be with them 24/7. I just want to be in their environment. But that is something that I also have to be intentional with because in the past, I really used to lose myself in relationships. And because I don't want it to happen again, and I know that I am actively in the process of rebuilding my ability to trust in relationships, I make sure that I am aware of that habit of losing myself. I'm aware of the habit that starts small and then becomes a huge ball of codependency. So, in terms of rebuilding trust, number one, become aware of your weaknesses so that you can know when someone is trying to use them against you, and you can also identify when you're possibly using them against yourself. And number two, learn how to take things slow. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do for yourself, even when it feels exciting, even when it feels like, you just want to rush in. Although, at the end of the day, follow your intuition. But in my experience, I've realized it's actually so helpful for you to take your time. It even allows you to get to know the other person fully before you can give them your trust. Because trust is not something that you just give to someone automatically because they say they like you and you guys have met and now you feel so good around each other. No. Trust is something that has to be earned. They have to show that they're actually worth being trusted. And there is no way for you to tell if they're worth being trusted if you completely rush in and you don't even know who they are. And in case you're wondering what it means to feel safe in a relationship, to me, I describe that as knowing that my vulnerability won't be used against me, knowing that my authenticity is something that's going to be appreciated and not something that's going to be shamed or something that's going to, something that someone is going to try and destroy. Knowing that I can just be fully myself without wondering when is the next time a knife is going to be put in my back. So there you have it. The 4 mental blockages to overcome if you would like to build a life that you genuinely love and feel connected to. We've talked about what they are, why other people make it difficult for you to overcome them, and how you can still manage to successfully overcome them, even if no one is supporting you or if other people are making it difficult. Remember that building this kind of freedom for yourself is not a destination. It's not something that will happen overnight. It's a journey. It takes patience, it takes self-awareness, and it takes a willingness to consistently show up for yourself. But judging from my own experience and the experiences of many other people I've listened to, it's a journey that will always be 100% worth it. Because for you to take your power back, you have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. And if that's something that you're ready to start doing for yourself so you can build a life that you genuinely love, make sure to hit the subscribe button because you and I are on this journey together. Like this video if you found it helpful. Also, let me know in the comments down below which of these blockages feels like one of your biggest challenges right now. Which one do you feel like you're ready to take the first step to overcome it with immediate effect because it has held you back for way too long? And finally, if you're looking for ways to connect more beyond YouTube, you can check out my social media in the description box down below. Thank you so much for watching. I absolutely appreciate you spending time with me. Remember that you have the ability to build the life that you want. Now go take your power back, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.